Good morning. My name is Silvija Abele, and I would like to present the results of my master's thesis in nutrition science on specific carbohydrate diet, SCD gaps, for children with autistic spectrum disorder. Autism is a complex developmental condition that involves persistent challenges in speech and nonverbal communication, challenges in social interaction, and restricted repetitive behaviors. Symptoms and severity of autism usually differ from person to person. This is why most often we speak about autistic spectrum disorder. In the recent years, the prevalence of autism is rising in the world. Here, according to CDC data, we have information about having one autistic child in 10,000 children 50 years ago. And this number is 1 in 59 2 years back. And statistics are still rising. And autism is more prevalent, 4 times more prevalent in boys than in girls. Situation is not much better in Latvia. Although our official data are telling us we have just a few hundreds of autistic children, in reality, we might have 1 in 100 children with autism diagnosis, which is close to the rest of the Europe. Before we move forward, let us see why we can speak about food or dietary intervention for autistic spectrum disorder in the first place. So this gut to behavior cycle diagram can help us to understand how the food can impact the brain. So let's imagine the food enters the gut, where it's getting digested into the nutrients. Then these nutrients enter the bloodstream, and by crossing blood-brain barrier, they enter the brain. The brain functions then are determining behavior, and behavior can include specific food choices. So this is why dietary intervention and healthier food choices can help us to improve the brain function for autistic children. So our study is focusing on this part, food-gut part of this diagram. Unfortunately, the gut of autistic children is not healthy. In the scientific literature, you will find data that up to 84%, or sometimes they cite even 90% of autistic children would have some gastrointestinal disorders. So the scientists speak about overlap of GI symptoms on autistic spectrum disorder. So these symptoms might include gut dysbiosis, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, picky eating, which all are leading to nutritional deficiencies for these children. So once we address these underlying gastrointestinal symptoms, we might alleviate or reduce autistic symptoms like behavior problems, irritability, hyperactivity, and so on. Gut-brain axis is a bidirectional communication between the brain and the gut. And I'm sure the participants of this conference would be all aware about the huge importance of gut microbiome in human health. Scientists have concluded that among other causes, autistic spectrum disorder might be related to gut-brain axis communication disruption and abnormal microbiome or gut dysbiosis. If so, then by optimizing gut microbiome, we might be able to help autistic children to optimize their brain function. How we can optimize gut microbiome? Of course, by a healthy diet, optimal diet and nutrition. And this was the basis of our study. So we decided to investigate the potential of low carbohydrate diet and some supplements in reducing some gastrointestinal symptoms on autistic spectrum expression in children. Although gluten-free, casein-free diet is the most popular dietary intervention for autistic children, it has some limitation. This is why we decided to use gut and psychology syndrome diet called GAPS, which is based on SCD or specific carbohydrate diet. And this is mostly known for inflammatory bowel disease patients, and this diet is more than 100 years old. So this is our little study design. We had 17 children all together. 10 were put in an intervention group or diet group. So of course, this group had to work much harder. Not only they had to fill all these questionnaires 3 times during the study time, but also try to implement new dietary principles for their children's diet. These children were also given some supplements like omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, vitamin C, ascorbyl palmitate, which is fat-soluble vitamin C, and probiotics. So what is a GAPS diet? So the main principle is to exclude complex carbohydrates, namely disaccharides and polysaccharides, because these are very hard to digest for an unhealthy gut, which is not in a good shape in the first place. So these products would include sugar, grains, potatoes, corn, unfermented cow's milk products. So all these would have complex carbohydrates like sucrose, starch, and lactose. And of course, we exclude processed foods having all those chemical additives in them. Instead, children are given very nutritionally rich products like meat, stock, bone broth, fermented milk products or vegetables, good fats, vegetables, fruits, berries, meat, fish, seeds, and nuts. So all the symptoms of children were evaluated by parents using these 7 translated and validated questionnaires. So let's go to the results now. As I mentioned before, up to 84 or even 90% of autistic children would have gastrointestinal symptoms. This was also the case for our study. Almost all children, 15 out of 17, had GI symptoms. Half of them had flatulence constipation, third of them had unfirmed stool, and abdominal pain was also present. So now you see the first diagram where we see gastrointestinal symptoms index. So the higher the score, the more severe are those symptoms. In the red columns, you will see diet group. In blue column, you will see control group. So the good news here is that we have observed the reduction of gastrointestinal symptoms during the study in 3 months' time. Unexpectedly, we saw also improvement of gastrointestinal symptoms in a control group. So why to explain this? So one point would be that parents also in a control group were more aware about their children's health issues, and they were observing more closely children's symptoms during the study, although no diet intervention was allowed in this group. And another point would be that this questionnaire is quite simplistic, consisting only of 6 questions and involving questions like how many times your child has bowel movements during the study. And so that might be difficult for older children, like teenagers. We had also 18-year-old boy in the study. So they might not report to parents every bowel movement. So this question might be tricky. And some families also were having difficulties to estimate some bowel movements for children or some GI symptoms. So in order to have more accurate results, we should possibly improve this questionnaire or for the purposes of our study. AUTIC score, AUTIC questionnaire, which is Autism Treatment Evaluation Checklist, is a very important result in this study. AUTIC questionnaire is widely used by parents and specialists in order to estimate autistic symptom severity. So during 3 months' time, we saw a 23% reduction in different autism symptoms categorized in 4 subgroups. Almost no difference in control group. So the added value out of this study was AUTIC questionnaire translated and validated and added to 22 other languages in Autism Research Institute website. And now it's free to be used and available for parents and teachers, specialists in the field. Autism Spectrum Disorder Assessment Scale, another questionnaire allowing us to evaluate symptoms of autism. You see again clear reduction by 25% in diet group. Nothing much happens in control group. Another questionnaire allowing us to estimate behavior and behavior changes in 3 months' time. So here you see 29% reduction. Irritability and hyperactivity were the most, showing the best results in 3 months' time, reduction in those symptoms. And PGI questionnaire was a bit maybe simplistic, a qualitative estimation of children's symptoms by parents. So the scale was going from -3, much worse, to 3, much better. And in average, parents gave us the mark, I would say, the mark for the study or for the improvements. In average, it was 1.2, which is somewhere between slightly better and better, in comparison to 0 point with no change. And these good results, 43% improvement, were in line with the results with another much larger interventional study for autism by Adams et al. And this study was actually the inspiration for this our study. So this is a recap of our results. So not all of them I discussed here in my very short presentation. So altogether we saw 13 to 43% improvement for the condition of autistic children in the diet group. Please keep in mind that 40 to 80% of compliance with the diet was reported by parents. So each family was doing their best. So imagine what 100% of compliance would do for these children. And the results allowed us to conclude that with the SCD GAPS diet complemented with some vitamins and supplements allowed us to improve behavior, speech, and socialization of these children, and reduce hyperactivity and sensory sensitivity. So SCD GAPS diet plus supplementation is a safe and effective approach for reducing some symptoms of autistic spectrum disorder in children. This is my thank you slide. First of all, I thank all children and families participated in the study. And of course, many people helped me with this work. And special thanks go to companies who donated vitamins for the children. And inspired by all good results of this short study, I have planned another study, this time GAPS diet for ADD, ADHD children. So attention deficit disorder and hyperactivity. We are still taking in people like children. If you know any family where children would benefit from such a dietary support, please let them know about the project, about the study, so that we can reach more children who would need support. And with this, I take the opportunity to thank organizers of the conference for allowing me to share the results of our study. And I thank all the listeners for your attention. Thank you so much.